right, guys, we're gonna go over how to use this RV. First of all, you have your tongue jack here. It is electric, which is really nice for hooking up. There's also a switch here. This turns on a light, so at night, if you're backing up to hook up, that's really handy. Also, right here is your propane tanks. To access these, you just lift it right off the top. Just so you know, there's an arrow in there and it points towards one tank or the other. Just make sure whichever tank you're opening up, that arrow is pointed towards it. Another tip is when you open up your propane after filling it, just make sure you go real slow when you open it. You don't want to go too fast. There's a little check valve in there. It could lock up on you. So you just want to go fast or go slow, let it process, and then you're good to go. Behind here, hopefully you never need it, is the battery boxes, and then there's also a battery disconnect switch back there. So as we come around, we're going to talk about a few things. So you have a very large storage area. This RV is a little bit different than some of our other ones. There is an awning control button inside here in the storage. You just open this door, it's right to the left. That's what's gonna work the awning in and out. There's also an awning button inside, but that one is disconnected, just so you know. Another thing is, just remember, if it's windy, rainy, stormy, anything at all, make sure that awning is closed. We actually suggest, if you're not sitting underneath it, close it, keep it closed. They cost about $2,000 to replace, and it's not very fun to do so. So just make sure you're really careful with awnings. It's a giant kite. If there's lots of wind, it'll rip right off. It just has aluminum arms, so just be really careful with that. As we come around, every corner actually has a stabilizer, but to control them, here's the button right here. You're gonna push the button, it says extend, they'll come down. What usually happens is one will come down first by itself, it'll touch the ground, and then the other one starts to come down. This button will actually control the front two, and then there's another button on the back that controls the back two. But the key is there that sometimes just one comes down and then it hits the ground and the other one starts coming down. They are not levelers, they're just stabilizers. It just makes the RV less wobbly when you walk inside. And then be really careful and mindful before you leave your campground. Make sure you retract those all the way up. Remember, one might come up and the other one might stay down. So just make sure it comes up and then the other one comes up. So just don't look, you see a foot down, up, and you're like, okay, always double check, look underneath the RV before you pull away. Make sure those are up completely out of the way. Here's your awning again. It's very large. Remember, wind, keep this guy closed if you're not sitting underneath it. We're gonna go over how to use the stairs. First of all, you're gonna just open up this door. To open the door, there's a little trick. These are newer RVs, so the seals are really tight. So when you're opening and closing an RV, you wanna push right here, push and pull the latch, and then pull it open just like this. Now, working these steps, you wanna make sure this door is all the way open as far as you can get it. You're gonna push this guy in, flip this guy around, it latches right here, and then there's a little blue tab. This is what locks it into place here, and a handle. So to get this down, you're gonna pull the tab, flip these down. Now, just so you know, each leg can be independently adjusted. To do that, it's really simple. You just push this button in, this blade right here, you push it in, and then you can actually adjust each leg. What you wanna make sure is once this is down, I'm gonna show you something here. You wanna make sure this is completely flush right here on both sides. Because if it's up a little bit like this, and your legs aren't the correct height, you go to close the door and it's actually gonna damage the door frame. So just make sure it's completely level before you start operating this door. Now to close it, we're just gonna do the process in reverse. You're gonna open this up all the way, grab it right here, you're gonna swing it up and over, and then just so you see, there's a little wing right here. If this door is not all the way open and it's like this, you can't close the door, it's actually gonna damage it. So get this guy all the way open, you're gonna push it all the way back up, you're gonna pull this little lever, you're gonna lock it into place, you're gonna shut the door, and then anytime you travel, remember push right here, anytime you travel, you're gonna lift this up and twist it. It kind of locks the door into place like this so it doesn't fly open on you when you're driving. There's just a little storage area here. You have your hot water heater and exhaust right here. This can get warm, so just make sure you don't lean any gear on the trailer or anything like that. And then you have a couple outlets. You also have your water fill for your freshwater tank right here. To do this, you're just gonna take your garden hose, you're gonna screw the cap off, put the garden hose in there. It'll fill up, watch your gauges inside, and then we always recommend you fill it on like half speed, because if you go too much, it might create an air bubble and you might think it's full, but it's not. So just be careful with that. And then coming around, you do have your second door here. This is into the bathroom. This is super nice to be able to come and to go. Same thing, you're gonna lift up, swing it over, and then open your door, just kind of how we talked about before. You have your rear jacks. Once again, those are stabilizers, not levelers. You're just gonna make sure they come down one at a time like we talked about before. As we come around the back here, hopefully you never need it, but there is a spare tire, okay? Travel trailers don't come with a jack for changing tires. You just wanna use your vehicle jack to change the tire on an RV. So that's right there, pretty simple to use. As we come back around here, we're gonna get into some of the business end of the RV. Here is your City Water Connect. We actually don't recommend you use this. We recommend you actually fill the water tank and then just turn the pump on and off anytime you're using it. What can happen is you can actually have too much pressure coming from the park or somewhere, and it can actually blow out all your water lines. So, and on all the seals. So if you are gonna use something like this, make sure you have a water regulator, pressure regulator and everything. You definitely don't want to create any leaks or anything. And then the reason why we say turn it on and off is because say you go hiking for the day, the plumbing in an RV isn't like the plumbing in your house. They're just little fittings. They just kind of plastic tubes that kind of connect. So what can happen is water can start dripping from those. So if you go hiking for the day and actually one of those comes out or something, you'd come back to a flooded RV. So just be careful with all the water. We recommend anytime you're using it, turn it on. Anytime you're using it, turn it, not using it, turn it off. And if you were using this, that also means come outside. If you're going hiking for the day, turn off the spigot, and then you're good to go. Right here is your power connect. There is a cord. You'll connect this, and then the other end is going to go into your generator or into the power pedestal at the park you're staying at. Just so you know, 99% of the time, if for some reason you've plugged in and power is not coming through, it's usually the pedestal at the park. Double check that the breakers have been turned on at the park. A lot of these parks will turn those off when people leave, and then you get there, you plug in and you think you're good, but it's never been turned on at the pedestal. So just remember that. And then you can also, when we go inside, we'll tell you about some other troubleshooting things you could do if you needed to. Just another storage area here, and then we're gonna get into dumping. On this trailer, there are actually 3 dumping valves. There is one for the shower, one for the front sink area, and then one for the black water tank, the sewage. So right here underneath, this first one right here is going to be your shower washout. To dump this, you're going to get the sewer hose, you're going to screw it on, you're going to pull this valve out. That's going to drain out all the dirty shower water, then you'll close it up. Secondly, we have over here a gray handle. The gray handle right here is for like your sink water. Once again, you'll put this on. We actually recommend on this one, you do the black water first, which is the sewer. It's going to drain out, and then once you're done, you're going to close that. Then you can pull the gray one. It kind of flushes out that tube. The sewer hose, it kind of cleans it up a little bit. So that's there. Just remember, make sure you put your caps on and stuff when you're done. And then when you return, what we like to do is we actually like to leave the gray valves open, not the black valves, but the gray ones. That way it kind of airs out and things like that and dries out in there. You have a large slide out here. Just remember these come out about 3 to 4 feet. So you don't want to park next to a tree and then have this come out. Also, you want to make sure you're not kind of near trees or anything because some branches could fall and then you go to close the slide out and those could be in the way. So just be really careful operating the slide out. Also, nobody should be sitting on the dinette or the couch or anything when you're operating the slide out, okay? And when you're closing it, make sure everything's out of the way when you close that slide out. All right, as we come around, we just got one more big storage area up here. This is a full pass-through. So if you have some longer gear, some fishing poles, anything like that, you can actually put it right through here, and then it's just a giant area for storage. It's great. Now we're gonna go inside. I'm gonna show you how to use it in there. Let's head on in. All right, guys, we're gonna go over how to use this. First of all, this is your brains right here, the control panel. You have all your gauge levels right here. You have your battery, your fresh water, your gray water, and black tank. Just remember, these are guides. They're not 100% accurate. And then you have your slide in, slide out control. Just make sure nobody's sitting in the slide out or there's nothing in the way outside or inside when you're operating the slide out. Be really careful with that. And then you have your awning lights and exterior lighting and your water pump button. Anytime you're using the water, just remember, click that button on, and then when you're done using water, click it off. And then right behind the TV here is going to be your thermostat control. There are 4 modes. There is an on, there is an, well, basically on-off, and then you have your air conditioner, you have a fan mode, and you have your heater. All of that runs right off that thermostat. Now to activate it, you're going to push the button in, that kind of turns it on, and then you can actually change it by using the dial. Next to that, we have 2 light switches. The one on the left here is actually your living room light switch, and then the one on the right is your front bedroom light switch. There's a little slider right here. That is just for a dimmer, so just make sure, we always recommend you just leave those all the way up, because if they're down and you turn the lights on, then you don't think the lights work, but it's just dim. So we always recommend just leave those all the way up. We're going to talk about the bedroom. This is a great bedroom. Right next to the head of the bed there, you're going to see another thermostat control. That's going to work that air conditioner inside the master bedroom up here. And then you do have your outlets next to each bed. You have a USB, and then you also have some outlets there. Now, one thing I want to talk about is if you are dry camping, you're only going to be able to run 1 air conditioner at a time. So just remember that, but if you're plugged in at a park, you can run both. It's not a big deal. Another thing right here is a heater. It's kind of like a space heater. This is only going to work if you are plugged in at the RV park using shore power. We're going to talk about the 2 seats here. These are awesome. They're super comfortable. They are recliners, and if you can see, there's a little handle. Each one of them has its own handle, and you pull the handle up, and then it'll actually go into like a recliner mode. So that's really nice. You have a couple of cup holders there, and then you have your dinette. This converts into another sleeping area, and to do that, all you need to do is lift this table off. There are 2 poles. You'll remove the poles. Then you take this table, and there's 4 knobs. 1, 2, 3, 4. You're going to take this top. You're going to put it on top of those knobs, and then you're going to take the rear cushions, set those on top, and then this becomes a nice sleeping area, a nice bed. Another thing you want to take note of is these lights. They do not have a light switch anywhere, but there's a little button right in the middle. If you push it, It turns it on, push it again, turns it off and on, as you saw. And then we're gonna talk about your stovetop. This is not a glass cooktop. Anytime you are cooking in here, you need to make sure you flip this up out of the way completely, just like that. Don't turn it on and then put that down and put a pot on top of it. We've had a few people shatter those before thinking it was a glass cooktop. It is not a glass cooktop. Also, you have all your propane controls here. Anytime you're traveling or anything like that, make sure these are all turned off. You don't want to have your propane on and open, leaking out propane because you left the knob on. Anytime you're traveling too, you want to make sure you close this guy up, just like this. It's kind of nice also if you don't need the stovetop, that creates more countertop space. You have your microwave. Just a reminder, any major appliance, microwave, air conditioner, all that stuff needs shore power to work. So you need to be plugged in a park or running a generator to make those items work. Also, running the generator is going to charge your batteries. We're going to talk about the fridge and freezer. This is really nice. It is quite large for an RV fridge. You open this up and this, you're going to swing these open, and then you have a little dial right here. There is a little section in here that says off-grid. If you guys are dry camping, you want to make sure you turn this to off-grid only mode. Now, if you're going to be on an RV park or plugged in somewhere, then you can just run it normal. But make sure if you are going off-grid, you turn it, if you're just dry camping, boondocking or whatever, you turn that to the off-grid mode. You have a couple nice bunk beds here. It's really nice. And you have a little bit of storage area underneath. And now we're going to talk about, you do have a breaker box, just like your house would have, and fuse panel. If you're having some issues with electricity and stuff, this is a great place to start looking. Make sure a breaker hasn't been tripped. Somebody put in a blow dryer and it tripped it or something like that. So that's a great place to check. Now we're going to talk about the bathroom. Now, there's a foot pedal flush. Now, how these work is you actually push that down halfway. It's going to fill the bowl up with a little bit of water. You'll go ahead and handle all your business, and then you push it all the way down and it drains it into the black tank. Just make sure you hold it down, and we usually recommend you count to 5 or so, just to make sure you have enough water inside the toilet and the black tank when you're using the bathroom. Also, the only thing that goes down is RV toilet paper, no wipes, nothing like that at all. We're going to talk about your heater, your water heater. This is awesome. It's an Insta-Hot water heater. To turn it on, you just hit the button there, and then you can control the temperature you want right there. When you do that, you turn on your water. It takes like 2 or 3 seconds. It could even take up to 10 seconds before that hot water starts coming, but it's always going to be continuous. So that's a really nice feature. You guys, this RV is awesome. You're going to love it. We can't wait to see you, and we'll see you soon.